Hi everybody, welcome to CampbellYoga online. Today we're going to be practicing with Hanuman, or the asana, Hanumanasana. Hanuman in the tradition is seen as the greatest devotee ever born on earth. This is the monkey god that we often see on the altars of Hindu temples and sometimes yoga studios. So as we move today, I invite you to drop down into the seat of devotion, the seat of love, out of the head and into the heart. Let me just say that again, out of the head and into the heart. And when we talk about the heart in yoga, we're speaking of the center of the chest, Anahata chakra, the seat of the divine soul, like the purest self. Just taking a moment to pause and come into your intention for the practice. A few deep breaths, or maybe just observing the natural flow of your breath as it is. And bringing your hands to your heart, stating your intention silently or loud if you feel comfortable. And dropping your attention down into your heart, down into your heart. So that this practice is not simply for our individual good, but that the self-care and the awareness we build here will radiate outwards. You might begin by offering a little massage at the temples or the scalp, allowing the brain structure to relax and widen to fill the skull so that there is no tension. Little rocking of the head slightly back with the elbows lifting and forward. Bringing the thumbs into the ridge at the base of the skull, the occipital ridge, and lifting up out of the neck. Breath smooth in the belly, smooth in the chest, just allowing it to be even. Samavriti pranayama, the same length and depth on the inhale and the exhale. The shoulders relax. And then bringing the right fingertips to the floor beside your right hip. Stretch the left arm up and over. Lean to the right, and a little side arch. Look up under the left armpit for a moment. And then allow the head to get heavy towards the right shoulder. You might choose to stretch your left arm way out to the side. Turn the palm up towards the ceiling so the shoulder rotates back. And notice how this affects the opening in the side of your neck. Playing with the position of the palm, you may notice that there's different sensation as the palm turns down, forward, up, even back, finding your sweet spot where there is a pattern of holding around the neck. We're just creating some room for the attention to drop out of the head. And circling the chin down as you sit up tall, bring the thumbs behind the brows and use the lift of your hands to lift your head. The head is easy. Moving to the other side, the left fingertips come down to the floor, the right arm up, lean over to the left. Breathing into the sides of your waist here so that the ribs expand, the space between the side ribs and the outer right hip expands. Playing with the angle of your neck. And then the reach of your right arm towards the right now, without lifting up out of the arch. The palm may turn up, or you may start to play with the angle of the hand and shoulder to notice how that affects the stretch in the right side of your neck and the top of your shoulder. As you come up, curl the chin down towards the chest, thumbs into the brow or under the chin to lift the head. You might choose to lift the chin up a little higher, and then bring the hands back to the heart, coming back into your sacred intention. What are you devoting your practice to? Walking the hands forward, come into a tabletop position. The knees under the hips, palms spread wide, the knuckles rooted into the floor under the shoulders. Tuck the toes, press back through the toes and the heels. And then you may begin to entertain a cat-cow action of the spine as slowly as your breath is moving. The inhale is an opening of the chest, a relaxation of the abdomen down. And the exhale, beginning with the pubic bone, curl the pubic bone forward, lift the abdomen round the spine. Just a few rounds like that. If there is one space where you have noticed that there is resistance, it may be valuable to pause there. You can take a little bit more of organic movement here, shifting forward and back slightly. But let this be an introspective process rather than just trying to make the movement fancier. When it becomes comfortable, keeping pressure down through the tops of the feet and shins, you may start to rock your hips forward towards your hands. And then exhale, curl the navel in and rock the hips back towards your heels. So it's like you're moving through almost upward facing dog. If you get there, the knees lift. There is lift in the lower abdomen. And then back into child's pose, curling the belly in. Sometimes it might feel good to take a little rock of the hips side to side and table instead of moving linearly forward and back. Let this be a time you're just tuning into your body, tuning into your breath. Less about the movement, more about what's happening in this moment. The jaw is relaxed, the tongue is soft in the base of the mouth. Soft palate of the mouth wide. Taking a moment in child's pose. Keeping the toes tucked if you'd like to stretch through the feet. And then shifting forward slowly into a plank. Notice a tendency for the belly to drop down, and instead lengthen the tailbone towards the heels. Draw the skin between the front of your hips in and up. A little bit more effort in this shape. Keep your breath smooth and steady. And then shift the hips up and back into downward facing dog. Wrapping the outer arm bones down, lifting the center of the arm bones up. The arm muscles are connected firmly to the bones. And the space right between the base of your shoulder blades, the tips of your shoulder blades, drops into the body as the shoulder blades stay wide on the back. So it's not actually the shoulder blades moving, it's the center of the thoracic spine. Hip creases draw upward and the tip of the pubis reaches towards the wall or the ceiling between your thighs. A little bend in the knees if you're feeling tight in the hamstrings this morning or in the low back. Oftentimes when the legs are too straight early in the practice, the pull of the hamstrings can pull on the lumbar spine. Make sure that's not happening. Come high onto the balls of the feet to stretch open the soles of the feet. So much of asana begins in the feet. It's important to pay attention. And then keeping the right thigh internally rotated, stretch the right leg way up. Notice the moment that your right hip wants to open. Pause, correct. And then continue to reach. Your thigh may be more parallel to the floor than up towards the ceiling. The main action to focus on here is the internal rotation of the hips. With an exhale, draw your right knee towards your nose, maybe your lips, and then step between the palms in your lunge. A little rocking forward and back, just coaxing the body, coaxing the hips into a state of relaxation. And then as you're ready, you'll lower the back knee or straighten that right leg, fold over it. Let's do that. Bring that right shin and press it in so that there's more pressure in your right big toe. Right outer hip draws back, and then moving with the breath, you'll inhale to come forward in your lunge and exhale to rock back with right leg straight. The left knee can be bent or it can be straight, whatever serves you. Remember, this is more about the sensation, the experience, than the aesthetic. When the back knee lowers down, take a moment. Remember the internal rotation of the hips. Hands thread and then place them over your right thigh, just behind the knee. Now the tendency may be to straighten the elbows and go into the lumbar spine. We're not seeking a big back bend here. Instead, lift the lower belly in and up. Breathe the chest up without flaring the low ribs forward. So the back bend isn't only in the spine, it's through the whole line of the body. Good. Bring the hands down. Tuck the back toes under. And then exhale. You're going to fold over the leg, then lift the right foot and stretch it back and up, remembering the internal rotation of the right thigh, connecting into the center of your body. When you're ready, bring the right foot down. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Big toe knuckles touch. Knees bent or straight. And then other side. We'll stretch that left leg up. Feel the internal rotation of the hip. Draw the leg as high as it will go without dumping the belly or the low ribs. Keep the arm bones firm and lifted. And the sides of your neck long. Inhale, reach to the toes. Exhale, curl the knee into the nose and step through the palms. Coming into your lunge. Feeling that awareness in the pelvis, grounding through all corners of the front foot. With your exhale, you'll straighten the front leg and fold over it. Back knee can bend or straighten. Inhale, come forward, re-elongate your spine. And exhale, straighten the front leg and fold. Fold comes from the hips, not the chest. Keep the spine as long as you can. Remember that front shin is rotated in and that front heel is rooted down and slightly out. As the right knee lowers to the floor, inhale and interlace the fingers over that left thigh just behind the knee. Reposition the hips if they have become askew. And then find the back bend, beginning with your right shin. Ground your shin. Feel the outer right hip rotate forward. Draw the lower abdomen in, lift and widen the front of the chest, and feel the base of the neck lift up out of the shoulders. Anjaneyasana. Another name for Hanuman is Anjaneya. Bring the hands down, lift the back knee. Inhale, lift the hips. And exhale, pick up the foot. As the leg rises, breathe in to fill the shape all the way to the toes. And then bring the leg down into downward facing dog. You may choose to stay here for a while, bending the knees to notice the hinge of the hip deepening. Relaxing the head down between the arms. On an inhale, come forward, lower the knees, open the chest, broaden the collarbones, cow spine, and exhale, round, lifting the low belly in. And take a few more or just one. Inhale, open the chest. Exhale, round. Inhale, open the chest. And exhale, sit back into Balasana or Child's Pose. The knees can be together, or if it's more comfortable, let them widen. Stretch the fingertips forward, let the brow rock a little side to side. Remember, attention out of the head, into the heart. Maybe even becoming aware of the back of your heart here, receiving the breath. Come forward. Either just take a cow spine or let the hips drop towards upward facing dog. Bend the elbows if you're in up dog to come into Bhujangasana. Pubic bone down, elbows bend a little. Feeling the back bend unfold. And then shifting back through bent knees or rolling over your toes into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing. Inhale, stretch the right leg up. Feeling that internal rotation of the hip. Exhale, knee to nose, step through the palms. Lower the left knee down. Inhale, roll the shoulders back, widen the palms, stretch the fingertips out. Hips drop forward equally. Letting the vinyasa be the movement of your breath and awareness in the body. Reach the hands behind you. Hold opposite elbows. Remember which forearm is on top. And then ground the low back into your forearms. Little back bend in the upper chest. And then keep the stability of your hips as you straighten the front leg. Press down and back through the right heel. And begin to hinge from your hip socket. Folding over, navel over the right thigh. Left shin presses forward and down. Stretch the arms out. Keep the length of your spine. The fingertips can come to the mat. Pull the mat back with your fingertips to elongate the chest forward. Keep the pressure in your back shin. And notice what happens in your neck. If you have a tendency to hyperextend your knees, it can be helpful in beginning stages to place a block on the medium level underneath your right calf and press the calf down into it. Keep the leg active. Relax your outer right hip as it draws back so that the action comes from deep inside the hip rather than the external structure of the outer glutes. Samavriti pranayama. Remember, the breath is the guide here. Out of the head into the heart. And what encompasses the heart? The lungs. Now rock forward, coming back into Anjaneyasana. Rise back up. You can choose to stay here or maybe even interlace the fingers behind your low back. Stretch the knuckles back and maybe away from the body. See if you can graze the thumbs along the inner edge of the left thigh. Remember, the back bend is continuous so that there's actually an arch through the whole body, not just an arch in the low back. As you're ready, keeping the lower glutes active, simply release the hands down to the floor. Tuck the back toes, lift the hips, straighten the front leg. Maybe you fold for a moment. And then taking it into an IT band stretch, walk the right foot out a little wide, turn all 10 toes towards the right. You'll come to the outer blade of your left foot. Right arm reaches up as if it is pulling you upwards, and then exhale, drop the hips down. Keep the neck long out of the shoulders. Inhale, press into the feet to lift the hips. Stretch the arm up and overhead. There's our side arch again. And then exhale, drop the hips down. Stretch the arm towards your left foot. Neck is long, shoulders are in their proper place. Again, inhale, rise up, open. And exhale, drop the hips. And try to keep your hips elevated, even if you're super mobile, elevated just a few centimeters off the mat. Play around with sticking the tail back and then drawing the seat under. So hinging the hip and finding where your most resistant place is, and choose where you'd like to explore. And as you come around, lift the hips to turn the toes. Bring the hands inside the front foot. And then inhaling, step into plank. The lift comes from the belly. Exhale, lower the knees. Inhale, open the chest, cow spine. Exhale, round the back, cat spine. Inhale, open the chest. Exhale, round, lifting from the belly. Downward facing dog, inhale. Forward to plank, inhale. Open the chest into upward facing. Option to point the toes or keep them tucked. And then bend the elbows, Bhujangasana, Cobra. Cobra feels so much more profound to me. When the pubic bone's down, I can't simply rely on the straightness of my arms to create the back bend. It has to come from deep within the body. And exhale, downward facing dog, tucking the toes, rolling over them. Make your decision. Feel equal pressure in the hands. Check in with your pinkies. Then inhale, left leg up. Exhale, brings the knee to the nose and then steps through the hands. Right knee down. Inhale, lift the spine, open the arms. And bring the arms behind you. Switch the forearm that's on top as you hold opposite elbows. Low back, kidney area, balloon out into the forearms as you lift the center of your collarbones up and widen the front edge of your shoulders. Keep the tongue soft in the mouth. Notice if there's tension there or in the nasal passages. Don't worry about how deep you go. Sometimes staying upright is ideal. Pull the hips back, and as you are ready, grounding the left heel with the left leg straight, begin to fold into Ardha Hanumanasana. Ardha is half. Hanuman is that monkey god, that greatest devotee. Remember your intention. What is this practice devoted to? Inhale, stretch the arms out wide, bring the fingertips down, and then begin that process of unfurling. Unwrapping the areas of tension. The left shin bone, press in so that it faces the ceiling. And remember that you can bring that block underneath your left calf to prevent the knee from locking. Eventually, there is just an awareness that the micro bend stays. The effort is balanced with the ease. Draw the hamstrings up the back of the leg towards the seat, and then spread wide the ball mound of that front foot. The ball mound has a direct relationship to the sacrum, so widening it will create a little bit more space, usually in the low back. Fold if it's there. And then removing the block, come forward into your lunge. Take the foot a little bit wider as you do, because as you inhale, you'll lift the hips and turn all of the toes to the left. And another big breath as you stretch the left arm up. Arching the side body, lifting the hips, keeping the inner and outer ankles equal in length. Then exhale, drop the hips down, reach the left arm back. Inhale, lift up and arch. Exhale, drop the hips slowly. It's more like a float than a drop. As you're ready, play around with drawing the seat under or letting it move back to find the space where you have most opportunity to breathe. Pressure back through the right heel so you don't collapse the ankle. Width across the front and back of the chest. Exhale, roll back around to your lunge. Bring both hands inside the front foot. Hollow the belly as you exhale, and then inhale, steps you to plank. Find equal pressure through the palms and the soles of the feet, or the ball mounds of the feet. And then inhale, either lower the knees to open the chest or let the hips drop forward to come into upward facing dog. Exhale, sink back into child's pose. Forehead relaxes down. Those IT bands can be tricky. We don't often move so laterally, so they can be tight. Just take a moment to observe that sensation. If you'd like to, you can scoop your way forward, draping the nose along the mat as you come into up dog, and then roll over toes into downward facing, Urdhva Mukha to Adho Mukha. How's your breathing? Can you feel it in your belly, in your chest, in the back, in the front, in the sides? Go exploring. Now walking towards the front of your mat. Ardha Uttanasana. Inhale, chest forward. Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. The feet can separate and or hips distance apart or be together. Lift the arches of the foot as if they could suck the floor off the mat, or the mat off the floor, and then holding the hips, inhale, rise up. And big toe knuckles touch. Heels slightly apart. We'll ground down through the left foot. Scoot the pubic bone over in line with that left big toe. And then holding the right big toe, stretch the leg forward. Uttita Hasta Padangustasana. You can also hold the back of your right thigh, leg straight or bent. Straight is going to progress you a little bit closer to where we're going, but if that doesn't feel good, then don't push too hard. Turning the heels slightly towards the midline, toes out. Take the right leg out to the side. You can counterbalance this by stretching your left arm straight out to the left. And then reach the left arm up as you draw in the lower abdomen and bring your right leg forward again. Now try to keep the leg upright as you release the toes and stretch both arms towards the ceiling. You can take Kali Mudra, interlacing the last 3 fingers, releasing the first finger and the thumb. And then Virabhadrasana 3, stretch that right leg back as you counter this by bringing the upper body forward. Spread the ball mound of the foot. And then exhale, curl the knee back up into the chest, ground through the left big toe, and then bring the foot down as the arms return to the sides. Tadasana Samasthitihi. Other side. Interlace the fingers to begin with. Open up the chest. Come back into your intention. Pelvis shifts a little bit to the right as you lift your left knee. Hold the big toe or the back of the thigh, and inhale, stretch the heel bone forward and up. Stand tall in your right leg. Find that long line of energy from the right heel to the crown, growing longer, taller, more open. And then reaching the right arm out to the side, turn your left thigh up and take the leg out to the left side. Assure that right hip doesn't pivot too far to the left. Maintain your balance right at the midline. Steady gaze point. Inhale, bring the leg back through center and stretch the right arm up. And then maintain the elevation of the leg as you take Kali Mudra up to the ceiling, opposite thumb, opposite pinky on top. Virabhadrasana 3, drawing in lower ribs, trying to remove as much of the back bend as possible. Exhale, curl the knee in, feel the center of your glutes, engage. Tadasana Samasthitihi, release. Palms to the heart, Anjali Mudra. Tune back into your breathing. Hopefully it's still there. The more and more you practice, the less pause there is. The breath is the guide. Inhale, one Vinyasa here. Stretch the arms up and back. Exhale, Uttanasana, fold. Forehead towards the shins. Inhale, Ardha, unfurl the spine. Exhale, step back into plank pose and align the body. Downward facing dog without moving the feet. Inhale, glide forward, lower the knees, lower the chest and chin as you breathe out. And inhale, Bhujangasana, Cobra. Exhale, through Child's. Into downward facing dog. If you'd like another upward facing, please take it here. Whatever feels natural. This practice is less about following instructions at one point and more about tuning into your particular needs. Take the right leg up. Inhale, breathe the shape. Exhale, right knee to nose, step through the hands. Lowering the back knee. Inhale, lift the spine, position the hips, and then reverse prayer, or you can choose again to hold opposite elbows. So as you bring the fingertips up the back, press the thumbs, sides of the hands into each other, and try to point the pinkies up between your shoulder blades. Lower ribs draw down. Base of the skull rises. And as you press the thumbs into each other, you'll feel a widening of your shoulder. Maintain this as you draw the hips back and begin to fold over the right leg. Ardha Hanumanasana. Okay, so the hips are your stabilizers. The back shin is another stabilizer. Front heel as well. And there's length and space in the spine. And we're going to work some more upright stability here. So start by connecting into the glutes. Lower glutes engage. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, come forward into a lunge, tuck the back toes. Breathe and lift the back knee. And now back into warrior 3. Shift forward on a diagonal. Walk the back toes in and lift the left leg up. Feel the front of your hips, right between those two bones. Draw in and up for stability. You may start to swan dive a little bit forward. Keep the pressure between your hands or the tug on your elbows. And then Parshvottanasana stance. Step your left foot back, spin the heel down about 25-30 degrees. Straighten both legs, lift up, inhale, big breath. And then exhaling, keeping the palms together. Draw your right hip back as you begin to fold the navel over the top of your right thigh. So the forehead is not seeking the knee. The forehead is seeking the shin or even the ankle. Okay? Keep the pressure between the hands. Try to maintain width across the front of your collarbones. It's an intense eastward stretch. Breathe in, rise up, leading with an open heart. A few breaths. And then parallel the feet towards the left side. The legs are about 3 to 4 feet apart. I'm taller, so mine are wider. Interlace your fingers behind your back, stretch them up. Keep the elbows or the wrist rather away from each other as you fold. So this is a counter stretch for the wrist versus that reversed prayer hands. Now if your head easily comes to the floor, 2 things. First, step your feet closer together. And second, tuck your chin up into your chest and try to bring the back of your head towards the floor. Little tiny bend into the knees. Lift the inner groins, inner thighs up. Deepen them. And let the pubis reach towards the ceiling slightly. Prasartapattanasana. It's a C variation. Now, you can stay there or you can bring the hands to the floor so that the heels of the hands are in line with the arches or the heels of the feet. I'm going to take Shirshasana here. Okay? So interlacing my fingers, I bring the outer blades of my forearms down, press them into the floor, press down and away from my face with my elbows. The head comes to the floor in front of the hands, and the legs float up by just simply lifting the hip crease away from my face. And as the legs rise up, internal rotation of the thighs. Remember that same cue from Anjane. And then you can begin to play with the krama. Start by bringing your right toes down to the floor, letting them touch. And then switching. Exhale. Bring the left toes down towards the floor. Let them touch. Keep the strength and integrity of the top leg as you do this. Now, externally rotating the hips. Oops, no, we're going to do something different. Stretching both legs out. Keep a bend. Like Ardha Hanuman. It's like Ardha Hanuman upside down. And then if you have space, straighten both legs. Try to keep the hips a little bit more internally rotated. Both legs up. And again, Ardha Hanuman on the other side. The back knee bends, front leg straightens. Keep energy through the toes, through the heels. And then option to straighten both legs. Now, as you do these fun things on your head, make sure that there's firm pressure in the elbows. If headstand is new to you, I hope it goes without saying, but this is not for you yet. Stretch the legs out. Externally rotate the hips. And then slowly bring the toes down. If you've been in Prasarita, guess what? You've also been in an inversion, so this is perfect. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, roll around into a lunge facing the front of your mat. Lower the back knee. Inhale, chest rises. Stretch the arms up, interlace the fingers, and flip the palms towards the ceiling. Jalandhara Bandha, lifting the chest towards the chin and taking the base of the skull back and up out of the shoulders. Soft palate wide. Exhale, Ardha Hanuman. Stay here, or you can lift that front heel up and start to slide it forward along the floor, keeping that internal rotation of the back thigh. Remember the same cue you had in your three-legged dog when the leg was rising up towards the ceiling? It's the same thing here. Okay? Now, if it feels like you're having to support yourself with your upper body, you're going to take a blanket or a couple blankets and place it underneath your right seat and the front of your left hip. So your right glutes and the front of the left hip. A bolster, if you have one, is available. That's really nice. A couch cushion can also work really well. Now the tendency here is when the hips elevate to lock the right knee. So ground down through your right heel, pull the thigh bone or the femur bone back into the hip socket. You can play around with a little back bend here, taking the arms back by the sides, or even stretching them up into Kali Mudra, stretching towards the ceiling. Don't compromise the hips and the low back, just to take off your hands off the floor though, please. Keep the hips level. Hands come down, you can fold. What I love to do here after I've been in here a while is to take my right forearm and thread it underneath my right knee so that the leg can relax a little bit without being at risk of locking the knee joint down. Okay? Remember that the right shin bone is facing the ceiling. Widen the ball mound of the right foot. Feel the sacrum respond. And then rise up. Tuck the left toes under. Lift the thigh, the hips. Draw the right leg back as gracefully as possible. And then turning the toes to the right again, widen the right foot out. Dropping the left hip down. You can play around with the vinyasa of stretching the right arm up and arching, or you can just stay here. Keep a slight lift of the thigh off the floor if you're mobile. Keeping the strength and integrity in the body. Where is your breath? Good. Now, bring the right hand behind you. You can stay on fingertips or come to your palm and lift your pelvis up. So there's a slight back bend, a slight twist, and getting into that outer thigh. Like a triple whammy, right? Drop the hip down. And then we're going to take Ardha Gomukhasana legs towards the back. So that right thigh crosses over the left. The heel draws to the outer edge of the hip, the left hip, and the left leg is straight. Maintain length through the curvature of your low back. You can keep your hands on the floor or hold on to the outer edge of your left foot. Remember, length as you fold. Each back bend has an element of forward folding. Each forward fold has an element of back bending. So see if you can start to fuse those ideas together. I like to bring my fingertips into the space between my pinky toe and second toe on the ball mound of the foot, and between my big toe and my the toe next to it on the ball mound of the foot, and widen that fascia out. Feels really interesting. Maybe you'll try it too. Let the breath bathe the back of the body. As you come up, draw the right knee towards you. I'll give you the first option here. Hold the outer edge of your right foot with your left hand, and then trace a line with your right hand across your chest to reach the right arm back. So pressing the right heel away from your upper body, reaching the right arm in the other direction. You'll find a rotation beginning at the low back and rising. You can bring the forearm to the floor and lift the heel up towards the ceiling. If this feels like it's too much in your hamstring, then you're going to take your strap or a belt or a scarf or anything that you can loop around the ball mound of your right foot and use that to bring your left hand to your right foot. Now we're going to lie back slowly. Keep the reach through your left leg as you reach back to your right arm. Come all the way down onto the back of your shoulders, and then take the right leg over to the left as you scoot your hips a little bit the other direction. If it feels like you would prefer to bend the right knee, particularly if this is tugging on the back of the knee, then do so. You can bring your left hand on top of your outer right thigh for support. Keep the activity through both heels, so this isn't 100% passive. There are elements of ease and steadiness in the shape. And then inhale, scoop the hips back to center as the leg rises up. You can draw the leg a little closer towards your face, keeping the left thigh bone firm. Then eventually you will either release your foot or unhook the strap. You might choose to give your right knee a hug, or slowly lift and lower the leg down towards your left foot. For me, it feels like my right leg got 6 inches longer when I do this. Just tune into whatever sensations are there. The beauty of a slow practice is the ability to observe without needing to follow momentum. And rise up, cross your ankles, and step back into down dog. Inhale, come to plank. Now you're facing the other side of your mat, and then exhale, lower knees, chest and chin. Inhale, rise into Cobra, Bhujangasana. Firm the toes into the mat. Then exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Inhale, take the left leg up to the sky, please. Internal rotation of the hips. Exhale, knee to the nose, step through the hands. Right knee comes down. Ground to the back shin, and begin to explore lifting the upper body. And you are ready to interlace the fingers overhead, stretch the heels of the hands towards the ceiling. Widen your thumbs and pinky fingers away from each other. Feel the reach up through the heels of the hand. Lift your spine up out of your hips. And then taking reverse prayer, stretch the arms out, down, up the back until the palms connect. Pinky fingers move into the back and up between the shoulder blades. Thumbs are grounded into their opposites. And then moving into our stabilization here. Slow and steady, draw the hips back and exhale as the left toes rise, begin to fold over that leg, maintaining an upper back bend. Inhale, keep the legs, lift the spine. Exhale, bend the left knee, tuck the back toes. Breathe in to lift the right knee into your lunge. And then shifting forward as you are ready into Virabhadrasana 3, grounding the left big toe knuckle under the big toe and the ball mound of the foot to maintain stability. You're working one long line, heel to crown. As you are ready, step back into Parsvottanasana stance. Lift your heart up. Wide enough stance so that the hips can square towards the short side of your mat as you begin to fold. This may mean heel to heel alignment. For most of us, it does not mean that. It means that left foot needs to be a little wider. Remember, the forehead is not seeking the knee, but rather the shin, maybe even the ankle. Maintain a micro bend into your left knee. What I mean by micro bend is that it's so small, you know it's there, but the person next to you couldn't tell. Or if you were to take a video of yourself, you couldn't even tell. The micro bend is to avoid locking the knee out and to use the musculature of the calf and thigh to maintain the integrity of the leg line. So lift that thigh up. Inhale, lift, 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 lift. Little back bend, and then parallel the feet. Second Prasarita Padottanasana, you can keep the palms pressing towards each other, or you can release the hands to the floor as you fold. I'm going to move into the second round of headstand here. Same arm alignment, so interlacing my fingers, bringing one pinky finger inside the other palm. Ideally the opposite grip that you had before. If you're staying in Prasarita, it can feel good to release your hands to the mat and stretch them the opposite direction of your face. If you are taking Shirshasana, firmly ground the outer blades of the forearms and the elbows. So you're creating an equilateral triangle in your forearms. The head does not have to come into the palms. It can come slightly forward of the palms. Make sure that the palms stay turned towards each other. Now as you lift from the hip crease, ground the elbows down, stretch out through the big toes, way out. Stay in the straddle, it'll open the inner thighs. It's a very effective opening because gravity is pulling on the legs for your seated straddles and such. When you're ready, lift the legs up. I'm moving a little quicker. I'll inhale to lift my legs and seal them. Exhale to bring them down. You may choose to switch the breath pattern if it serves you better. Exhale, reach out. This draws me into my lower abdomen. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, draw the lower abdomen in. Inhale, lift up and fill it. Now bringing the legs forward into a pike. Same thing. This time I exhale the legs down, inhale them up. Exhale the legs down, inhale them up, making sure that my head is staying in the same position. My elbows are rooted and there is pressure, but light pressure in the scalp. Movement comes from the low back. Now I'm splitting my legs into a Hanuman shape, a split, and then taking a twist. Open the heart, open the chest. Inhale, straddle the legs out to the side and switch. Open the chest, uplift your heart as the legs stretch and the twist begins in the lower back. Inhale, straddle the legs out, 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 and then slowly bring them down again. Let the heels strike before the ball mound of the foot if you can. Lift the chest, and walk around towards the back of your mat again in your lunge. Lower your right knee. Have that blankets, bolster, couch cushion handy. And fold it underneath you so that as you come into Ardha or full Hanumanasana, The props can support your hips if need be. Now, keeping the back toes tucked will allow you to internally rotate the right thigh up towards the ceiling, and then you can point them once you have established that. You may find that one side is more interesting than the other. For me, this left side is the one that teaches me more. The arms can rise if you have stability, remembering that the stretch is not through the knee itself, but through the whole leg. Kali Mudra over the head, drawing the outer arms forward towards each other so that the tips of the shoulder blades wrap around the sides of the body. And then if you're folding, option to bring that left forearm underneath the left knee so that you can find just a little bit more release without the risk of locking your knee out. Inhale, rise back up, and as gracefully as you can, maybe with a little chuckle, drag the leg back, and then turn all of the toes to the left. So now you're coming towards the outer edge of your right hip. Activity in the leg and in the legs and in the feet. Lift up through the spine. With that right hand, ground the fingertips down and keep the carpal tunnel hollow, that little divot at the base of your palm. Now, if you're taking that back bend twist conglomeration, you'll lift your hips. Actually, first, just lift your hips halfway, and then bring that top hand behind you until the fingertips or maybe even the palm flatten into the floor. When that happens, you'll have more leverage to press down and lift up. The lift may be minute. Lift the hips, open the heart. Lift the hips, open the heart. And then turn the hips around so that you're taking your gaze towards the original front of your mat. Ardha Gomukhasana legs, half cow face posture, and drawing that inner left thigh up and over your right quadriceps. Knee over knee, hinge from your hips, begin to fold. And keep your hands on the floor or reach for the foot. Really, the foot should just naturally come to you. It's less of a reach and more of an arriving. And if you feel like you have to stretch your low back to get there, it may be a better idea just to keep your hands grounded and move from your hip crease. Taking our awareness deeper and deeper and deeper each moment of this practice. So notice what has unfolded for you in this aspect of devotion. The intention you set at the beginning of the practice may have more layers, more depth, more clarity. Maybe you need to return to your intention, and that is okay. Maybe things like emotion, frustration, fear, uncertainty have started to cloud that momentum. That's okay, just come back. Now, taking into your twist, lift your left knee into your belly, hold your outer left heel with your right hand and stretch that left arm back. If you choose, you can take the strap, remember that, around the ball mount of the foot and press your left big toe into the strap to keep the foot parallel or level with the ceiling as you slide back. When you come all the way down, continuing to reach through your right leg, level your shoulders and take your left leg across to the right. Coming into this twist. Energy through the heels. If you'd like, you can massage the outer left hip with your left hand. the gaze can shift over your left shoulder if that feels good to you. Remember, the knee can bend as well. Now, as you're ready, rise back up, shift the hips to center, and slowly lower your left leg until it is on the floor next to your right. When it arrives, release the effort completely. It's a moment in Savasana for observation's sake. The breath rising and falling. Rising and falling. Like a wave. Start to notice the top of the wave and the bottom of the wave. Now moving into Satu, actually, and before we do that, take Hanumanasana. So bringing the soles of the feet together, widening the knees out to the side. Press the outer blades of your feet into each other so that the head of the femur bone descends into the hip socket. Try not to force your knees down, but rather forward and out. The pressure in the feet and the dropping of the femur bone will let your knees drop where they need to go, where it is appropriate for you. Holding the outer edges of the feet with the hands so that the spine can be tall without effort, or bringing the hands behind you, pressing the fingertips down into the mat behind the low back, behind the seat, so the spine is upright. Poses like this prepare us for sitting in meditation. Now bring the hands to the backs of the knees, draw them together. Satu Bandha. I'm going to show a supported variation of bridge pose. Super simple. Using a block, or you can use a folded blanket or towel, or again your couch cushion. Lift your hips up. And if you are using a block, you might choose to take it long ways so that it's simply supporting your sacrum and tailbone area. Now you can revisit that Baddha Konasana shape, bringing the feet together, letting the knees widen, and just rock a little side to side. Gravity is your friend here. So try to relax the hips, relax the inner thighs, and let the force of gravity gently pull the structure of your legs down. Basically, the idea is just to get that opening across the pelvis and to open the front, the conception vessel, or that front midline. Also have a nice, easy inversion here of sorts. Because we have been doing so much internal rotation, if you'd like to stay here for a while, I don't blame you. It feels pretty good. If, however, you'd like a little bit more of your energy to draw back to center, just place the feet onto the mat. Use your hands to lift your knees as you do so. You can turn the heels slightly out, let the knees drop together. If you have a block, you may choose to lower it down or to lift it up to serve your needs. I'm pretty tall, so I like to use the top lever or the top level of my block so that I have more in an inversion. If this creates tension in your neck or your back, take it to the lower level, please. Bring the arms into a comfortable position, resting the back of the knuckle or the same knuckle on both hands on the floor. The breath bathe you, wash through you. Coming into the state where it's very much more like the body is being breathed. It's a natural evolution of your practice. We begin by directing the breath, and then we have this recollection that maybe the breath is directing us in a certain sense. It's a beautiful relationship. We can just be in that observation rather than trying to control or manipulate. We can learn a lot. So listen to the sound of your breath. The inhale, it may sound like so. In the exhale, there may be the subtle sound of hum. Inhale, so. Exhale, hum. Like to deepen your inversion, you can lift your legs up, much like Viparita Karani. The legs relaxed. Sometimes the act of devotion requires a leap of faith. A leap of faith and a trusting ourselves that this practice, these intentions, this universe, this world, this reflection of nature has our highest good at heart. Where do you need a little bit more trust in your life for yourself? Where can you take a leap of faith? Where can you just lean in rather than pushing back? Out of the head and into the heart. Bending the knees, one foot at a time or both together, bring the feet to the floor. Press into the heels, lift the hips, remove whatever is underneath you, and then slowly roll the spine down, feeling each of the vertebrae meet the mat. Rock the pelvis a little bit forward and back, pressing through the feet. Bringing the hands to the belly to feel your breath move there. Up to sit, removing anything else other than just a block or a rolled or folded blanket. Place the block or that firmly folded blanket underneath your scapula. Okay? So the scapula are then forced into the body evenly, all sides. Remove anything like a hair tie or bandana or anything you have on your head. And then stretch the arms up. Hold opposite elbows and take the arms back and overhead. If this is too much stretch in your chest, you can bring a block or a blanket behind your forearms to support them. Stretch the legs out one at a time and internally rotate the leg from the hip. The toes will fall in slightly. Press the heels down. Couch pose. If only our couches did this for our spine. An internal rotation of the hip will narrow the front of the pelvis and widen the back of the pelvis, allowing for more space. So much of our practice is about exploring and allowing for more space in our lives, in our bodies, in our thoughts, in our emotions, in our judgments. Switch the forearm that's on top and take the arms overhead again. Just balancing out the shoulders. If you can release the weight of your upper chest and shoulder blades into that block a little more. Release the brain into the back of the skull. Now bring the elbows up. Bring the forearms down by the sides of the body and then lift the spine, letting the head trail. I'm going to turn that block onto the second level and place it in what we might consider our bra line for women. I've heard this called the bro line for guys. But it's that line directly beneath the base of your scapula. So what happens here is your scapula are actually going to be behind the block, off of the block, and your low back is going to be in front of the block, off of the block. And the block is just pressing the space just beneath your scapula, the bottom of your ribs up. So the back body is rising. And let the front body drop down. If it's uncomfortable in your neck, I recommend placing something under your head, blanket, a cushion. Get creative with your prop usage. You don't have to have anything fancy. You can just go around your house and figure out what works for you. For a long time, I used textbooks. I used couch pillows. I used ties and scarves. Remember, this is just training your body to do this on its own. Bonus points if you let the lips curl up just a little. Even in those spaces that feel a little dark or sticky, to invite joy. Both can live there. To invite ease. Bend the knees, rise up or roll to your side, and take the prop away. Then lie back. Feel really interesting when the back body meets the floor. Now, setting up for Savasana, if you're feeling a chill on the skin, you might place a blanket over your body. If the room is particularly bright, placing a scarf or an eye pillow over your eyes. Also relax the vagus nerve. And we'll rest here for some time. I recommend staying here for at least 10 minutes. Bringing your awareness slowly from the periphery, the layer just above your skin, following your breath, your natural breath, as if you were breathing through your pores, and becoming really curious about the exhale as it draws you deeper and deeper into your body, deeper and deeper towards the center of your chest. Everything relaxes. Eventually, your attention rests at the center of your heart, a space the size of your thumbprint behind the breastplate. There is no doing, there is just being in the heart. long as you like. As you move into your day, allow this awareness at the center of your heart to expand. And that courage and strength and devotion, the energy of Hanuman. Notice how that plays out in your day, in your life, in your intention. Namaste.